don't like publicly speaking about my thoughts because I feel like I haven't lived long enough to say the right thing. But I've learned that to deny my thoughts is to deny my existence, to deny my humanity. I am human too, just like you. So here I am, in my garden, releasing some thoughts into this world. Earlier this year, I felt very depressed. I found myself constantly turning to various forms of escapism. There were a lot of different things affecting me, and one of those things was an overconsumption of negative content. Painful headlines and news, heavy political discussions, dark TV shows, and plots of horror movies on Wikipedia because sometimes I'm painfully curious. Too much exposure to these things feels like a dark cloud hanging above me that I can't get rid of. This happens from time to time, slipping in and out of darkness without knowing how to deal with it. I've been thinking about the people I've come across who confront darkness infinitely better than I do. Some seem endowed with this mystical ability to practically live in darkness, and the expected emotional toll of it rolls off of them like water. I'm always in awe of the magical person who can watch the most horrific content without flinching, and then after that, they just go to sleep, just like that. There are those who can look into darkness with borderline dissociated disinterest, and they're usually capable of calmly triaging what they should and shouldn't devote emotional energy to. Then, there are those who seem soft-hearted and vulnerable, but they have extraordinary spiritual armor. They talk about being able to confront darkness without succumbing to it, and they exude so much light and hope. John Baptiste and Suleika Jouad are prime examples of this sort of person. As a sensitive person myself, I'm obsessed with them. I find myself constantly orbiting around their creative output, trying to figure out how they do it. Where does this armor come from? Let me back up for a sec. What do I mean when I say the word darkness? I mean the spiritual weight one carries after a loss of innocence event. Usually, the word innocence invokes images of puppies and children. Well, we all have innocence in us that is chipped away over time. I suppose it's one of the prices of being human. What are some examples of these loss of innocence events? Loss of idealism when confronted with reality. I experience this one all the time. There can be a loss of sense of safety in one's own body, loss of trust in another, loss of ability to do something, loss of your previous understanding of good and evil, loss of agency in a situation that becomes out of your control. In all these examples, illusion is cast aside for a stark view of reality. What does it look like when we succumb to darkness? I would say addiction to vices, pathological escapism, depression, and maybe even a sense of victimhood. These, at least, are the things that I experience. I don't want to live a life where I'm constantly succumbing to darkness, but I also don't want to be someone who sticks their head in the sand and pretends like darkness doesn't exist. I want to be someone who is strong enough to live in reality. I want to be able to look at the world clear-eyed and say, "Do your worst, for I will do mine." That's a Count of Monte Cristo reference, by the way. How does one face darkness without succumbing to it? Over the past few months, I've given this some thought. First, we must talk about the escape plan. If things are going off the rails, I've found two methods of handling this depending on my different mental states. If I'm overthinking, stop thinking, and if I'm not thinking, then think a little. My mind latches onto things and I ruminate uncontrollably. To stop thinking, I first put on some lighthearted music. Then I perform a task that both moves my entire body and is satisfying to complete. Cleaning or gardening works well for this. I've tried to go on walks or exercise or even do stationary hobbies, but this doesn't work as well as focusing on completing a task that moves my entire body. Sometimes I find myself feeling down, but I'm not thinking of anything in particular. While the previous remedy would help in this case, I found that this is a great time to do some introspection. I find I can do this best when I write in a journal. When journaling, I try to be as honest as possible. It feels like pushing words through my hands, words that I'd rather not see. Introspection is a confrontation of oneself, so I try my best to be daring. How do we prepare to face darkness? I don't believe that the remedy is more exposure, even though it may seem like the logical path forward. I believe that I must strengthen my sense of self, the barrier between what is and what is not me. This is what that spiritual armor is. To gain this armor, I try to do things that affirm who I am. I think about what I do and don't like. I mean, there's a whole song about this in The Sound of Music. Maria listing her favorite things when the world gets too dark. I also think about what my values are, and I try to live by them as best as possible. I think about the mistakes I've made, and I talk to myself like another human being who's capable of making mistakes. I find ways to take care of my soul. I peer into myself and dare to question what I want from this one life that I get. I've been practicing these methods for a while, and I do feel a little bit more resilient. That's the end goal, right? Not to avoid darkness altogether, but to be able to separate yourself from it, take what you need, and then move on. Anyways, that's all I have for now. Thank you so much for listening.